A meeting of minds in the world of engineering where aspiration meets experience.
I told him not even that.
Wow.
It's to trust your gut feeling.
Would still not know what's coming.
I will do it over and over and over again. But you go from a concept and the engineer make it reality.
You cannot run away from the society.
It was difficult, it was hard, but it was worth it.
It's gonna cost you time.
Long days and long nights of work.
You have taken a lot of risks.
There's no certainty.
We do study in groups.
Engineering studies are really key in driving civilization. You want the short answer or the long
Yes,
answer?
I want that. I want the long answer. Welcome everyone to the second episode of our podcast, the NanoPod, made by our team, the High National School of Nanosciences and Nanotechnology team. I am going to be your host again, and this time we have a guest also, but this is the first Algerian guest we will ever have. Welcome with us, Khaled. Hello, Khaled.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. A little stressed, but it's okay.
Oh, well, it's your first time. It's my second time too, so I'm kind of stressed too.
All right, no worries.
So the first thing ever, Khaled, is I've heard that you went from an engineer in here in Algeria and now you're living in Emirates. How did that go on for you?
Wow, it's a long.
How did your journey start?
Do you want the short answer or the long
Yes,
answer?
I want that. I want the long answer.
I studied here in Algeria. I went to Polytechnical School, NP, École Nationale Polytechnique, Al Haraj. I graduated in 1993 and did my military service, finished in
Wow.
1995. Right off the bat, I joined an international company, which I had worked for a vacation training summertime when I was still a student. It's the company is Schlumberger. And now it's called SLB, but that time it was called Schlumberger. It's a multinational company. So they came to our school and they did few activities, selection rounds, and they picked up a few of us. So
And you were one of those people they selected?
Yeah, I was lucky to be one of the few that they had selected.
And they selected the students according to what? What was the standard?
So I think that these multinationals, they look for different aspects when they when they look at recruiting. They look at how dynamic is the person, how they have very good way of assessing how willing is the person to take on challenges, to learn, etc. Because it's all about
take the risks.
Take risk. It's all about learning, in fact. So, and I was lucky to be one of those. At the beginning, when they came, they said, "Okay." In fact, there's a story behind that, because they said we will only talk to the top and second top student in every single specialty in the school. I just went there and I sat in and I told him, "Listen, before we start, I have a clarification. I'm not first and I'm not second."
But they took you to say.
And then they said, "Are you within the five top students?" I told him, "Not even that."
Wow.
I said, "It's like maybe within the top 10. He said, "Okay, you have 10 minutes to convince us." It took us about 20 or 25 minutes, and they apparently were convinced.
Oh, wow.
And they took me amongst. I think we were about 6 or 7 people that were selected that year.
What do you think? What was the factor that made them select you?
For example, the fact that I took the risk. It's.
You already gave them a challenge when you were like, I'm not between the top 2 people, I'm not between the top 5, I'm between maybe the top 10,
but listen,
I'm proving myself.
If you show them that you want something and you want it so bad that you're actually, whatever people think, or because the grading, etc., sometimes it's very subjective, so they don't look at just academics.
Yes.
For them, it's just a starting point for selection. They say, "Okay, we'll talk to but in fact, anyone that can talk to them and convince them that they are fit for their company, they will take them. And for them to be fit is like you have to be willing to learn. You have to have the energy. And being a student in any university, that already gives you enough intellectual capital to be amongst any company.
Yes.
And plus, I mean, École Polytechnique was one of the and still I think is the top school in Algeria. So the selection was already made at the start. So, and then they took me, and then they offered me the first contract was out of the US. I was actually physically hired in Houston,
Wow.
Texas, and that's where the journey all started. I started my field engineering in the US. I worked in Gulf of Mexico for a few years. We had the training in the US as well. And then from there on, I mean, we started having, so every 2-3 years, based on what you want and what the company has to offer, you change either location or job.
Oh yeah.
And that's what happened. So after the US, after a few years, I came back to Algeria for a couple of years, and then went around, went to Norway, went to Hassim Saud, went to Saudi, went to Dubai, went to Oman. So it was
Traveling journey, I think.
it was a traveling journey, and that was a very enriching experience.
Yeah.
And the thing with these companies is that they take you for face value. You're an engineer, but they don't really care about
They
what
don't care about the grades.
specialization.
They don't care about
Because
specialization.
what they do, they take you and then they train you to be an engineer that fits their own needs. Okay. And that's what happened. So we were first field engineers, and then they groom you to. I was hired part of what they call a high potential engineer. So the expectation was for us to go through the field experience fast enough
Yes.
to take on management positions outside of Algeria, so that ultimately when we mature, so we were meant to come back to Algeria to manage the
To train
business,
other people.
to manage the business here, to
Oh,
drive the
yeah.
business in Algeria, and that's exactly what happened. So I spent maybe the first 7 or 8 years outside, and then came back into my first position here in Algeria, running the business for my division in
Yes.
Algeria. So and after that, so I also had one experience outside of Schlumberger, where I left the company. I left and I worked for
Was
GE.
there any reason for you to leave, or you didn't feel you were
There was
in your
another
place?
opportunity.
Oh yeah, you took the risk of another opportunity.
Yeah. So when I traded a big corporation, which is Schlumberger, for another even bigger one, which was General Electric.
Yeah.
And it was based here in Algeria also. So I worked for them for about 2 years, and then came back to Schlumberger, and then I was called to join Schlumberger back in Dubai. And that's how the Dubai
This is
experience
how you
started.
got there.
So we started there, and then within few years, they wanted us to move to another location. My wife and I, we loved it. We loved Dubai, so we said, okay, why don't we settle here? So, and then I rejoined. I left Schlumberger and I joined Schlumberger again. Schlumberger and I joined GE again, because GE is known to give a little bit more better stability than Schlumberger in terms of geographical stability. And then that's how we started. So I went to Dubai in January 2013, and we're still living there 12 years on.
So I've noticed that you have taken a lot of risks throughout your whole life. Do you think, well, I think personally that there's 2 types of risk, good risks and bad risks. For you to decide which risk to take, how do you know if it's a good risk or a bad one?
Sometimes you don't know, but you have to. There's a leap of faith. Sometimes it's a leap of faith, but most of the time, because we're engineer, what we do, we kind of assess.
All the possibilities?
Possibilities. But I learned something. It's like, is to trust your gut feeling. If it feels right, so chances are for it to be right.
What if it feels good, but it was not that good?
That's fine. It's an experience, because even bad experiences are never a total loss. I mean, there's a lesson that comes out of it, and that makes you stronger, and then you'll make better decisions later on. Because to make decisions, I mean, there's so many factors into making a decision, right? And you cannot have all of the information. The more information you have about the subject, the less risky is the decision you take. But sometimes you don't have the luxury of either time or knowledge. So, and inaction sometimes is more costly than action. It costs you more by doing nothing rather than taking something and being wrong. So I'd rather being wrong doing something than being right doing nothing. So that's why. So I don't really focus or dwell too much on how risky is a situation or how risky is a decision, but I take a decision and I live with it, because this is part of being responsibility. When you're responsible, you take decision, and then you bear the consequences, the good and the bad ones.
Even when you bear consequences, and people think that if you take a bad decision, it's going to cost you time.
Yeah.
Like if it was a bad decision, they start thinking about, instead, if I should have done something else, I have lost maybe a year, especially in the business world.
Mm-hmm.
You think this is a
But
good thing to
listen,
look
I
up to, or no?
think you're right. But listen, there is nothing that is free in this world, right? So everything will cost you something somehow. It's
So,
either money,
win an
it's either
experience, you should
time,
lose time.
it's either resources, but it costs you something. So the fundamental question is like, are you willing to make that sacrifice for what it is, whatever it is that you're actually pursuing? If you want to be an engineer, you have to make sure that to be aware that it will take long nights of work, long days and long nights of work. Now, if you don't want to put the effort on that front, then there's
You can focus your effort on one thing that is certain, I guess, rather than stuff that are risky.
What do you call certain? It depends. There's no certainty, right? Certainty
True.
is something that has a probability of occurrence of one that doesn't happen.
Okay, but for example, here's a scenario. For example, somebody is studying in a school, and like they're certain that if they're gonna finish the school, they have a job, they have maybe opportunities that are gonna be waiting ahead of them after. But some people, for example, they like to study and work at the same time. Sometimes they end up leaving the studies and going to work. In here,
at the end, I mean, I personally have respect for any decision that any person makes. It is all about making sure that you take your own decision, you run with them, and you assume the outcomes.
Take the responsibility.
Because there is, in this life, I mean, there is no, this is better than that. Every single thing that we do in life has a cost, has a commitment, has an effort that is put into it, etc. And people choose to go for university. And by the way, I mean, when you go for an engineering degree, you're not guaranteed to find a job. Okay, because there are so many engineers that are still looking for a job, because they might have a degree, but they may not have the personal skills to actually fit in within any organization. So that's why they never get hired.
But we have possibilities for everything. There are some people who went on to be engineers, but they found the job, and some others.
And some people that found a job, but they never managed to keep it, because finding a job is something and keeping it is another thing.
Yeah.
So it's so there is nothing, but the most important is knowing what you want. And if you have the luxury of having enough information and time to assess the risk, etc., and make a decision based on that, that's great. But if not, then you move on.
I think even after like seeing the risks and studying all, like having the knowledge and all of that, you would still not know what's coming. Like maybe you take the decision, but you don't know actually how it's going in there.
Yeah.
For example, in a job or something, you don't know how it's working. You think like you have a pre-idea of it, but you're going to confirm the idea or shift it when you go there, when you actually start.
You're bringing a very good point, because if you look at the way companies are developing products, developing services, and bringing them to the market, the engineering mindset has changed, has evolved so much. We used to, the engineering companies, they used to look for the perfect product and then send it to now it's called, it's based on the new way of doing engineering is what they call the Agile engineering. The Agile engineering is you don't wait for the perfect product. The minute you have a minimum value, MVP, minimum value product, you send it to the market and you wait for the feedback. If it responds to what the market was expecting, that means that the idea is good. You take it, you perfect it, and you give it
back.
You give it back in its improved version. Now, if for whatever reason, whatever you sold, you actually put the market and it's not what the market was expecting, and it's a total failure, that means that you have not spent too much time and too much resources and money. What you do, you pivot. You go and say, okay, this is not what the market wants. What is it that the market wants? And you go and look for another product. So as opposed to in the past, people used to go to market with a product that was fully mature, and they were not taking it to the market till it was really tested and this and that. if you recall, remember, even during the pandemic, the
Yes.
COVID, right? So the vaccine.
Yes.
The normal vaccines were developed over a span of time of 5-6
They
years, maybe
tried
because
them,
you
yes.
tried it. Now,
And when
And
Corona came, it was unexpected. They just tried.
we didn't have the luxury of time, so they deployed the vaccine that
took
was
theirs.
tested for 5-6 months. So sometimes it's the circumstances that forces you to take that. But now, the whole approach is actually a whole engineering approach. So you don't wait for the perfect product before you go to the market. So that's the same thing with decision. You don't wait till you have the best
Perfect
conditions,
idea.
the perfect conditions to make a decision or to move on, take action. The minute you have enough, you move on. If it's not the right thing, you just correct. It doesn't mean that keep trying and spread yourself thin by taking so many actions that
Then
may
see
lead.
what looks for you.
No, but still, there has to be some reflection behind it. But don't wait for the perfect moment or the special moment,
yeah,
because you may not have it.
I think that path is more suitable for people who know what to do. Some people don't have a passion, or they have too many passions that they cannot choose one. I think the best thing for these types of people is to actually try so many stuff at the same time.
I think that I would love to meet someone that has many passions, because I think that
I kind of do.
anyone. So then I'm lucky to get to know you, Miss Hala, because having a passion is great, because it gives you purpose. And one of the key things, in life is to know what's your purpose. What is it that you want to do in life? What do you want your legacy to be? And what is I tell this my daughter. I mean, don't start to be the funniest or the coolest or whatever in a group. Try to be the most impactful. So what is your impact on your surrounding, on your friends, on your family, or whatever? So the impact is a direct consequence of what your purpose in life is.
But if you have too many passions, it's kind of like having too many purposes.
Yeah.
Because if you like too many stuff, you would like to major in all of those stuff. So you think taking only one and trying to perfect it, or trying all of them, then seeing which one you go to more.
Yeah. And I think it's good to do that also. I mean, if some of us are not lucky to actually know what our passions are, it's okay to latch on somebody else's passion, but you have to have someone,
like
right?
Parents who are doctors, they try to make their sons becoming doctors and so on.
No, so what I mean is like we're not all visionaries, right? So when I say passion, so someone has a vision, because when I link vision to passion, it's like purpose in life, right? So if we're not all visionaries and we cannot have our own vision, so it's okay to take somebody else's vision. It's like, my vision is to make sure that everybody has access to healthcare, for example. So, and that's something that is noble, that's very impactful, and it's positive. It's accretive to society. So it's okay, because somebody started it, I latch onto it, and I work on it. Even if it's not my vision, it's okay to actually use it and move forward. But yeah, so it's important to have a vision or a passion that motivates you, because the work life, when you're a student, when you're at university, your main objective is to pass your tests, your exams, go from year to year to year.
That vision is like short vision. It's not going that far. It's like, if the end of the year, for example, if the exams are coming, I'm going to be like, I want to have good marks on these exams. And if I get good marks, and the vision is done. It's
predefined for you. That's the other thing. What I'm saying is that it's predefined for you. You don't get to choose what to do when you're in university. It's plain.
They're already putting you
exactly plain and square.
In that path.
And there's very little deviation you can allow yourself to actually.
Maybe summer activities, formations, stuff like that.
Everything that's on top, and that will go from your own time, which is fine. If you can find the time to do it, that's fine. But when you're in university, you have an objective. The objective is to finish your degree, get a degree, and hopefully, when you get a degree, what's after that?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Short-term visions and long-term visions.
Exactly. So,
long-term goals.
Exactly. So this is why, I mean, the sooner you start thinking about what is it what I want to do with my degree, the better it is. Because having a degree for the sake of having a degree
is not enough.
It's not enough. because
Like
it has to be
people.
part of a bigger vision.
Maybe it's the first step to get there. Maybe to,
Yes.
for example, if you want to, as you said before, some companies, not companies, but some establishments, let's say, choose people who are the best at their schools or having the best marks. So maybe that would help. If you see yourself going into that establishment, you're going to have to work on those small steps, which is being the top of your class or something in order to get there.
Yeah. And what also, I mean, what I advise people even during their curriculum is to seek not only marks, but to seek knowledge. Because
curious.
marks is something and knowledge is something different. Because you can have people that have the best marks, but
little knowledge.
The knowledge, because the knowledge is wider. It goes beyond what you're studying. Is how is what I am studying right now fits in the big scheme of things.
Yes.
Okay, and how I can leverage what I'm studying right now to actually pull more value for this, and that, because it's all about value creation. In fact, at the end, right?
Yeah.
So, what is the added value of what I'm doing, and how I would like to go and about that. So, this is key. And we didn't have when we were students, we didn't have the chance to have discussions on these fronts. So we were just studying for the sake of studying, and we wanted to be the best, etc. But I think that there is a lot more awareness nowadays. So which is great, because I think that today's students have access to a lot more information than in the past. And people should not. I mean, you should not discount that. It's something that is to your advantage. You should use it and use it fully, to actually deliver
make
more,
the knowledge wider.
Exactly, the knowledge wider, and also to deliver more than what is expected of you guys.
On the other side, I feel like if we're gonna look mark-wise, marks don't define the knowledge of someone, because a lot of factors are gonna be on when you're working on that exam, and then you're gonna get your mark at the end. A lot of factors were there in order to contribute that mark. Maybe you were stressed, you were gonna get less. Maybe you were not that ready. Absolutely.
Because look, I mean, this is why, I mean, many universities have worked away from marks. They have the grading is A, B, C, D, rather than you have like a 16 out of 20. It's not just points, or they go and work for credits. So it's about, have you passed? They want to test you on the knowledge, not on how well you can recite this or that. So this is why I'm telling you, don't seek just the marks. The marks are good to have, but the knowledge has to be to come along as well.
Marks is like giving back what the teacher has given you.
Exactly.
And it's not always 100%.
Exactly.
Because as we said before, a lot of factors are going to be inside of it.
So this is why, I mean, when I was talking to some of your professor here, it's like I was encouraging them to create that environment where the knowledge is actually create synergies between for example, the institutes.
I've heard before that in Yale they use those extra credits for example, extra activities like summer activities and all of that in order to get the students engaged with other stuff other than studying.
Absolutely.
I think that's what's lacking in our schools in here.
Yeah, I think it would be it's the authorities to decide on that, but it would be good, because some people are not comfortable with the physical exam, sitting in a class and taking a physical exam, so they cannot express themselves to their fullest of their capacities. So it's kind of underestimating the value of some of the students. But if they express themselves throughout the semester or the year, and they have activities, they have sometimes they have what we call some elective classes that may not be directly linked to what they're studying,
but they can choose them.
They can choose them, and if they are good, it helps them gain more credits, and they help them to graduate as well. And it's also part of the knowledge. So the broader the approach, the better the knowledge outcome at the end.
I don't think that in here they're applying this. In Algeria, they don't apply this types of stuff. They already make your path, but they don't let you choose classes or something. They design the path for you.
Our system is very much like,
it's like limiting.
It's not. It's the French system. It's very, very strict, very, very academic, and very
straightforward.
Very sometimes very limited when it comes to evaluating the person, the character, the personality. I have, for example, my kids that are studying in the American system, and in the American system, for example, in high school, by the end they finish high school, they have a character.
They work on all
It's
the
amazing.
aspects. They touch
They
all
work on
aspects.
all of the aspects. They not only have the knowledge, but also they work on the human development as well.
Yeah.
So which we completely neglect in our system. But I think that there is more and more awareness towards that, and hopefully some decisions will be taken to address those issues. But the approaches are different. So the American system, the British system, and the system that we know, which is the French one. And I think that at one point we will be breaking that loose away from that, because
We'll all be working with the same system.
with the modern way. The modern way is not just like physical test marks, etc. So there has to be a better way of assessing the knowledge of people. So I think,
in that case, to break the norms, let's say in the educational system, our educational system that is limited, what is the advice that you feel like is most needed for students?
I think that what students needs to understand that universities, I mean, the class time is just there to give them pointers. The knowledge goes way beyond what the class time. So there is all of the extra research that you make, the books that you read, how much time people stay in libraries actually documenting themselves on other aspects, and not just what is being taught in class. So I think that students just needs to look for. I remember in our university, in our company, they used to call training center. So the Schlumberger Training Center. At one point, they changed it to learning center. They said, you're not coming here for us to train you. You're coming here to learn. And learning means that, okay, we give you the minimum, the basics, but it's up to you to go and look on how to complete it with extra knowledge outside. So this is what students need to understand right now. Students in university, they come and they attend classes, but the classes will only give them the basic, the fundamentals. But if you want to excel in your field, you have to double down and go and make your own research on how to complete the information, and how to broaden it, how to link it to other disciplines, and how to make it practical. Because sometimes what we study is very, it's fundamental science.
Yes.
It's like if you take it in an absolute reference, it is very, very academic, and it is just for the maybe for research. Now, if you want to make it practical, you have to go and look for your own way of linking it, how to link it to practical aspects, what brings value, because that's the role of an engineer. This is because, after all, the engineer is the foundation of driving civilizations, right? Yeah. Because you go from a concept, and the engineer make it reality, because they take a concept, they find a way to manufacture it, or to produce it, to make it something practical, tangible that you can use. Be it a car, be it a phone, be it a sweatshirt, whatever that is, right? So, but engineers make things happen. Science, for example, all the tools that we use for medicines, etc., these are made by engineers. Maybe the concept is made by a doctor, but the engineer is who makes it a reality. Yeah. So this is why the engineering studies are really key in driving civilizations and driving efficiencies.
Yeah, and one of these factors that would help them in order to get in there is helping with time. For example, if the schedule is really tight and they don't have other time in order to make other activities outside of the schedule, how do you think they need to manage their time? Because, for example, I'm a person who, as a living example, I'm a person who doesn't know how to organize their time. And I don't work with schedules, and we understand that everybody has their own style in order to learn. But I think I didn't find my style yet. Do you think that organizing time is is an important part in order to get there?
I think there has to be a baseline. There is a baseline that is non-negotiable. So there is a minimum of time and dedication to what needs to be done. Now, when it comes to how much extra, and that's what it makes a difference between this engineer and that engineer is how much extra he spent on either learning or completing that subject or doing something else. Because you will, at the end of for example, of 5 years, you will have people that have had time to not only do their engineering, produce their engineering degree, their thesis, etc., but they have had time to participate in sports championships, to travel the world, to do things,
Like you have done.
etc.
Yeah.
But some other ones, they were just struggling. Is it?
Yeah.
It's a combination of many things, right? Sometimes even the intellectual capacity of a person might not allow him to do more, or will force him to spend more time to make sure that he gets up to speed with the rest of the convoy. But some other ones, if they pick up things faster, that will allow them, that frees time for them to do more things, right? So there is no one fits all approach. So this is why, I mean, I think that there is a baseline that is mandatory. Now the extra will depend. It's based on
people.
On people. It depends. It's on a personal basis.
But still, the time management is still important, though.
It is key. It is key because one of the key aspects of success is being able to properly manage your time. Because time is people have written thesis on PhDs on time, and time is not compressible, and it only moves one way, right?
Yeah.
And some people within 1 hour can do multiple things. Some other ones will do just one thing, and based on how they approach time. So if they're
based also on their focus and their abilities,
etc. So, but the time has to be managed properly.
And time, if not managed properly, it can also affect other factors. For example, now we have TikTok as the application. I know you've heard of it because everybody uses it. You've heard of it, yeah. And spending time on TikTok has affected so much also the ability of people to focus.
Yeah.
So you can say that time is also affecting focus.
Listen, I mean, social media is another great topic. I think that social media has brought awareness about the surrounding to a different level. But there has to be a limit to it.
Yes.
I personally had Facebook at one point, but one night I started scrolling, and then I kind of almost woke up at 2:30 in the morning. Not woke up, actually. I was scrolling, but
you didn't feel the time.
I didn't feel the time pass by, and it was like about 2 or 3 hours passing by that I didn't even feel actually. I decided that there were no more of social media. That was back in 2018. Since there, I don't have any social media. Recently, I had to install Instagram because of some professional activities. But apart from that, I don't have. I just have WhatsApp and my LinkedIn. That's it.
Yeah, we cannot say that social media is all bad because we all do need it in order to communicate. Like our life has adjusted to have social media in it, especially like our generations. Maybe your generation in the past didn't use that much of social media, so you can get rid of it. Some people are addicted to it.
It's not a generational thing, because I mean even people of my generation can actually have the same addiction as the young ones when it comes to social media. The problem is social media is great when you know and use it properly. The problem is the excess use of it that can be negative. That becomes negative. Otherwise, it's a good source of information if one uses it with purpose. It's there for you to use it. It's a tool, and it's free, at least. So, but I think it's like anything else in life. I mean, use carefully.
Well, it's good also to get information, as we said before, to get knowledge. It's accessible and it's helping us. But also on the other hand, like we know, also ChatGPT, it's making people lazier in order to get the information. Actually, we're just like sitting there, we type, and then we get it, and that's done. I think that kills curiosity.
Yeah, the question is, can you walk away from ChatGPT right now? So I think that wherever you go, everybody's talking about ChatGPT. Now they're talking about some other ones, DeepSeek, etc.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah. A lot of other applications that does the same thing. For example, Bard, Gemini.
Exactly, but we have to remember that these are tools. If we keep them to that context, they are tools for us to do things that we want to do. If we keep them in that context, then it's okay. I think we'll manage. There is no problem with it. Now, if they start invading our time, and then you spend too much time. So then time management will become a serious problem. But I don't have any issue with social media. I think social media is part of our reality. We have to use it. We have to embrace it, but we have to make sure that we use it wisely.
All types of aspects that we have spoken about right now are the ones that are the current, I think, problem with students in order to get along with their studies and make their life like only to get to their objective. Like all of those factors are kind of interrelated.
You asked me earlier what some of the advice that I will give to students as well. I told you that, for example, to manage their time, do this and that. I think that the one thing I will bounce back on is how relevant is what we do to our reality or to our now as an entity, as a school, as a city, as a country, what we're studying, what I'm doing right now. How does it fit in the vision for the country, for example? What is Algeria wanting to do in the long term?
If you think about these stuff, they will eliminate.
And how can I be part of the? How can I jump into the bandwagon? So for that, we also have to be aware of what's happening around us. For example, I'll give you an example. 2 days ago, I attended a conference on new energies, etc., and they were talking about a lot of discussions were about decarbonization, energy transition, hydrogen, etc. And some of the issues were, for example, if you want to transport hydrogen from one place to the other, there are issues because hydrogen, if you transport it in a pipeline or whatever, so it has its own challenges.
Yes.
And some of the issues is like, how can we apply some cladding, but cladding using some nanoparticles that are specifically designed to address the hydrogen problem. So if I am in a nano field or nanotechnology research, I need to understand what the problem is.
Yes,
to
in order
start with.
To know what the particles that we need.
What is the issue now? If that is that's an issue, so I need to make sure that what I'm working on, is relevant to today's issues.
Yes.
So, and for you to address today's issues, you have to be aware of them. So we should not just focus on what just studying is like. Be broaden your scope, broaden your information. So what is relevant? What is the challenge of right now? And how I can address it?
Yes.
Doing what I'm doing.
In order to broaden the information, you need to know basic informations, which are the ones that we are learning here.
Absolutely.
In school.
Yes. Yes.
Because you cannot acknowledge maybe that problem unless you have pre-knowledge of other basic stuff.
Yeah. And every single knowledge comes at a given time. And the knowledge will not come because you're wishing for it to come. It comes because you seek it. And also I encourage people to collaborate, because
studying in groups
people will work in different projects, get together and share your own your experiences, etc. Like they say, I mean, knowledge is one of the few things that multiplies when you divide it. Right. So
the more you share it,
the more you share it, the more so knowledge multiplies when you divide it. So it's very powerful. So to work in groups and collaborate with others, because everybody has a different perspective, and there is no good or bad idea. So never make a judgment on anyone else's idea. Every single idea has its own value. How we can work together to create a value for the whole, based on input from different stakeholders.
Even to project this idea on the studying field, sometimes when you study in groups with your friends, your friend, he understands maybe the capacities and how do you think, not like a teacher that will give like a general rule or something. He can get the idea to get inside of your head.
Yes, absolutely.
This is another way also to get ideas into other people's head. You need to know how they think and know your environment.
I fully agree, and I hope that most people in your school actually having the same approach as what you describe now, because I think
we do study in groups.
If you live with that, I think that's a good recipe for success. I think that the future is brighter with that approach for
Well,
you
we
guys.
all live in like society, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
cannot run away from the society. You need to work in groups
Yeah.
and everything.
This being said, so studies, work, it's not easy, but like someone said, it's every single one of us has his own mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Okay, and sometimes you'll stand at the bottom of a mountain thinking how impossible or how difficult it is.
For you to get to the top of it.
Yeah, but then it will all make sense when you have the when you look at the view from the top.
Even when you're climbing, you're going to see the difference getting
exactly,
less.
because when you reach the top, which you thought was impossible,
you're going to look for other impossible maybe.
And
from
when
that
you
perspective.
when you look down, then you will understand that it was worth it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It was difficult, it was hard, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
And if it was to be done again, I will do it. I will do it over and over and over again. So don't shy away from putting down the effort. Things are not easy, but with hard work, comes great results.
So with that being said, thank you so much for the information that you have shared with us today. I've learned a lot, and I hope that people that are watching us have learned also a lot. See you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.